I'm missing 3 fingers on my right hand. Chopped them off when I was 3 years old. Looks pretty awesome. Ask me anything. When I was 3, I walked up to a sawmill and grabbed a hold of an exposed rotating chain. Because the sawmill was operating, it ground off 3 fingers on my right hand before I could pull my hand out. The doctors tried to reattach the fingers without success. They decided to just amputate each finger down to the knuckle. How does it feel, having a ready-made finger pistol? It's probably the best feeling in the world. Aren't you jealous? Do you ever freak people out by wearing gloves and then pretending to get your hand smashed in something? Haha. No. I've never tried that. But now I will have to. I do like to freak people out by making up stories about how it happened. I'm cruel like that. My favorite story was telling my math class that my parents were involved in a gang, and as punishment for something they did wrong, the gang leaders cut my fingers off. Have you lost any sensation in your fingers? Is there any in the tips? And if so, to what degree? Definitely the opposite. Do you see how my fingers are rounded at the ends? That's because the nerves tried to keep growing for a while after the amputation. So those fingers are actually super sensitive to the cold, and it hurts like hell if I hit my hand on a wall or something. Ever stick one of your nubs in your ear or your nose so it looks like a whole digit is up there? Hell no. All these great ideas. Where were you, Reddit, when I was growing up? I get 30% off pedicures at the local mall. Do you get 30% off manicures? No. People always ask me that if I get 30% off. No one has ever offered it to me, and I'm not sure how one would ask that question. Maybe this, you didn't have to paint 30% of my nails, seeing as how they don't exist, so let's make a deal. So do the knuckle stubs serve any purpose? Would you rather your fingers be amputated to the hand itself for aesthetic reasons? They do serve a purpose. I think the fact that by the time I was 6 years old, I'd already lived half my life without 3 fingers has contributed to the fact that my right hand is really functional. I'm glad my fingers weren't amputated all the way to the hand, because then I definitely wouldn't be able to do things like type normally or play the piano. It might have been more aesthetic, but really, look at that middle finger. It's the striking image of E.T. What's more aesthetic than that? Do you ever draw turkeys? Yeah. When I was younger I drew a few turkeys with my right hand, but as I got older I switched to the left as I became more aware of how different it looked. Do men get more scared off by it, or do they use sympathy to hit on you? Most people don't notice until they've been around me a few times. So I don't think it affects the initial interaction. I'll have to ask some of my guy friends to get a more unbiased answer though. One of her guy friends. In high school everyone definitely knew that she was the girl with missing fingers, even if they didn't know her that well. I don't think anyone was scared off by it. A cute girl is a cute girl, fingers or no fingers. But I can tell you that everyone definitely wanted a peek and they rarely got them. She is great at hiding her missing fingers. Verified. He's one of my guy friends. Is he in the friend zone, or more than just a friend? And if so, why not have sass with him and change his title? He's in the friend zone. Why not have sass with him and change his title? I dunno. I'd have to see how he felt about that. Haha. Do you ever have sensation in the fingers that aren't there? Phantom limb I think they call it. Nope. I don't know why. My basic answer for everything is because I was so young when the accident occurred. That, or I'm just so awesome. Do you use your right hand at all while typing? Are you right-handed? If so, do you write with your right hand? Do you remember the accident at all? Do you remember the sensation of pain? I ask because I don't remember what my past injuries have felt like if they happened before around 5 years of age. What on earth were you doing at a sawmill in the first place? I type the way Mavis Beacon taught me, with a few modifications. I'm actually pretty fast. I'm right-handed. I do everything with my right hand, dirty. Except when I'm holding silverware. I hold my fork and spoon with my left hand. I remember almost everything about the accident. There are a few patches in the memory that are black, but for the most part, it's all there. I don't remember the feeling of pain, paresy, but I do remember screaming and screaming after the initial adrenaline wore off. I was visiting my grandparents. They lived on a 100-acre tree farm and my grandpa owned the sawmill. I got away from my grandma, and while she was searching the house for me, I made my way to the shop where my grandpa was working. I was a really fast mover for a 3-year-old. How have the boyfriends in your life taken to it? Really well. My first boyfriend was amazing about it. He always went out of his way to let me know that he wasn't creeped out by me ever, at all. How much have you considered prosthetics? Is it something you really want or something you're playing with in your head? My final decision on prosthetics is, I would do it in a heartbeat if I could retain functionality. But I'm not willing to do it to make my hand look more appealing to other people if I'm going to have to give up some movement in my right hand. I've thought about it a lot. A lot. Have you ever considered evening them out? Sorry if it seems kind of weird, but my OCD would drive me nuts if they weren't all at least somewhat symmetrical. I do hope you're referring to surgery and not suggesting that I take a steak knife to my hand to appease my OCD, haha. I've never felt bothered that they aren't symmetrical. When the OCD just screams for attention, I straighten the magazines on the coffee table. Hey, I'm missing 3 toes on my right foot courtesy of a lawnmower accident when I was 4. I think we should join forces. Deal. If we get a book deal though, my name goes first. Do you think your life has been significantly different because of this unfortunate circumstance? Undoubtedly. I was really lucky to be raised by people who taught me to not be ashamed or feel handicapped in any way, but there were still times when I felt so painfully different from other people. It was the worst when I was in middle school. My self-esteem really took a hit when I realized I couldn't do things other kids could, like play volleyball really well, read. I couldn't set the ball worth a damn. Anything you can't do that you really wish you could. Anything you do poorly that you wish you could do better. I've been able to learn how to do pretty much everything, but there's a limit on a lot of activities. I can play the piano fairly well, for example, but no matter how much I practice I'm not going to be able to overcome the whole missing 3 fingers thing. That's a bummer. Sometimes I think the worst is when it doesn't matter how badly I want it, I'm just not going to be able to pull it off. Like when I realized I couldn't play the flute in 7th grade band. I still really wish I could play the flute. I love that you've managed to stay so positive about it all. Haha, thanks. I think a part of that is that I'll learn to make fun of myself before anyone else got the chance. Kind of a beat them to the punch thing. Most people don't notice until they've been around me a few times, so I don't think it affects the initial interaction. I'll have to ask some of my guy friends to get a more unbiased answer though. Are you at all creeped out by all the guys posting things like, you should make a Gone Wild post? You're cute. I like your personality. Oh god please. Will you be my girlfriend? I have never touched a woman. I kind of feel sorry for you. I'm a little bit flattered, actually. Me equals attention whore, apparently. So close to a permanent shocker. Did you learn your lesson about power tools? I think the important lesson about power tools here is that never underestimate what you think is a tragedy, because years down the road it will be a Reddit-worthy topic. When someone asks for a high five, I take it. You use your left hand, right? High five, left hand when I can. Have you considered becoming a famous actress so you could have a unique handprint mold in the Grauman's Chinese theater forecourt? Chinese theater, I hadn't, but now it's definitely on my life to-do list. Have you met any guys yet that are turned on by the fact that you're missing some fingers? I ask because I knew a guy a few years ago with his middle and ring finger from his left hand gone, and he would tell me that from time to time he would meet horny women who had a fetish for amputees. Guys with fetishes, I haven't met any, but I lead a fairly quiet life. When you go to shake someone's hand who hasn't seen your hand, do you let them know and ask if they can shake with their left, or do you just go right in there with your right hand anyway? If you do, does anyone get freaked out? Shaking hands, I shake with my right hand and don't give a disclaimer. Most people tell me later, you know, now that I think about it, it did feel a little different when I shook your hand. Side note, I knew a girl in high school who loved to shake my hand because she said it tickled her palm. Do you use that hand sagely, as in, giving a guy a very unique sort of hand job? Yes, I went there. Hand jobs, I don't try and use my right hand any more than my left hand. Considering the whole handshaking thing, I bet it would feel pretty unique, though. I'd never thought about it before. How often do you play pranks on people involving your hand? If you do, can you please end them all with "that's why you always leave a note"? Pranks, there are some awesome prank ideas on here. Sadly, I wasn't that creative growing up. The best I did was try and think of the most outrageous story every time someone asked me what happened.